Hey there guys, Aldershot here, and today we're going to do an impression video on Wolfenstein the New Order, developed by Machine Games and published by Bethesda. Currently on sale on Steam for the regular price of $60. So it is a AAA game, and it's going to be priced as such. So Wolfenstein the New Order, what is it? Well, it's essentially a no-frills FPS, which is nice to see, to be completely honest, because the last year or two we had an insurgence of tactical FPS. The kind of no-frills action FPS genre kind of got left behind in the last year or so, so it's nice to see Wolfenstein bringing it back, a return to form. And I'll say right off the bat, the game is enjoyable. I do like it, so there you go. So Wolfenstein should be a name that should be familiar to a lot of gamers, and that's because it is a classic FPS franchise. It came out around the same time that the original Dooms came out, so it kind of played the same way as they did. And Wolfenstein the New Order really is kind of like the rebirth or the reincarnation of the old franchise. And it does its best to kind of mix old school mechanics with new school mechanics as well. Well, let's just get into the game and explore that a little bit. So the general story of Wolfenstein New Order is just like the original franchise. It's about you as a US Marine is trying to fix the world essentially, because this is an alternate universe where the Nazis have won World War II and has taken over the world. So you're going to try and bring freedom and liberty and all that kind of good stuff back to the world. And that's generally the story. It's pretty cliche, you know, has nothing special, nothing too unique. I've seen it before, but still, it's an interesting premise either way. So this is basically Wolfenstein. Let's talk about the graphics a little bit. It is a pretty good looking game for the most part. It is a AAA game, so it's what you would expect from a AAA game, you know, high res or somewhat high res textures, nice, you know, models and stuff like that. Just general polish, lots and lots of polish, you know. I mean, it's nothing exceptional, it's nothing, you know, it's nothing overly, you know, unique as far as graphical aesthetics go. It's what you would expect from AAA games. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but, you know, it's not exactly original either. But that's okay. This game really isn't really about graphics anyways. It's really about the gameplay and stuff like that. So yeah, the graphics are pretty decent, is what you expect from AAA. Anyways, so yeah, let's kind of talk about the mechanics a little bit. Now you can actually lean. I'll show you that now. If you kind of iron sights next to an edge, it will allow you to lean, which is a great feature. A lot of tactical FPSs have this feature as well, lean, and they usually accomplish it by holding Q or E. Wolfenstein doesn't require that. All you have to do is iron sight next to a ledge, which is perfect, to be honest. That's really the only time you'll ever really need a lean anyways, and the game kind of distilled the mechanic down to when you actually need it. Now, I did mention that this game does feature old school mechanics with new school mechanics. One of the new school mechanics obviously is iron sight, popularized by Call of Duty, and to be honest, it's a good mechanic. It makes sense. So we're going to take care of some of these dudes here. Now, if you look on the bottom middle of the screen, you'll see, you know, a plus sign and an armor sign. The armor obviously represents my armor. The plus sign represents my health. And there is health pickups and armor pickups, just like the old school Wolfensteins and just like the old school Dooms. So they've really incorporated the old school mechanic of health bar and armor bar into this game, which is nice, definitely. And you know, it's really about shooting a bunch of dudes. That's really the main mechanic and main focus of the game. And that's another way they kind of incorporated old school FPS mechanics into the game as well. Because, you know, those old school mechanics aren't really that concerned with story or puzzles or anything like that. It's about shooting things and having really great level design. Now, this game, the level design is a little bit more linear. So that's how it's kind of more new school. New school action FPSs tend to be a little bit more linear. So again, it's really a combination of both the old school and new school. And as you can see, I can dual wield pretty much any gun that I can pick up, as long as I pick up 2 of the guns. And I just died. I am playing it under hard difficulty, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, you can dual wield pretty much any gun that you can find, as long as you can find 2 guns of the same type, which is actually pretty awesome. I do really enjoy dual wielding in this game. It's a whole lot of fun. And the fact that you can dual wield almost any gun is pretty spectacular. Rifles, pistols, shotguns, whatever you can think of. Now, the only thing about the game, as far as dual wielding and gun variety is concerned, there's really not that many guns in this game. I tend to be using the rifle a lot. And I find a shotgun now and then, and when I'm sneaking, there is stealth sections in this game. I tend to use my pistol with the silencer, which I'll show you that now actually. Oh, I haven't picked up the pistol in this game yet, so I guess we'll just old school it. We'll try and stab this guy in the back. Now again, you can actually play this game a little bit more stealthy, which is kind of a new school mechanic. You can kind of crouch and sneak and try and be silent. The AI, to be honest, isn't all that smart when it comes to stealth. They don't behave very naturally, and it's actually pretty easy to play the stealth game, even under hard. Just like that. Like, that guy totally saw me, and I still totally stealth killed him. So it's a little bit weak on the stealth side, in my opinion, and that's kind of why I'd rather the run and gun gameplay, because this game feels a lot better that way. I'm gonna just shoot this guy. And you can pick up grenades, of course, and all that sort of stuff. Pretty usual FPS kind of tropes and all that stuff. I'm gonna take care of this guy. Now, dual wielding is nice, but it's not all fun and games. It does have some drawbacks. You don't have iron sights anymore. And your gun generally, or your guns generally, are less accurate for obvious reasons. So you do have to be careful about that. But, you know, on the flip side, you have a lot more power, you're shooting a lot faster, etc., etc. But you are expending ammo at a faster rate as well. So burst fire is definitely recommended. There are going to be times where you're going to want to switch back to a single gun, so you can go back into iron sights. Alright. And right now would probably... Oh god, there's a dog. Oh my. The dogs are kind of annoying. They kind of catch you off guard all the time. We'll just take care of this confrontation here. We are getting a little bit overpowered. Oh god, these robots. I hate these sentries. We are taking a bit of damage, which is not good. And again, I am playing under hard. Not the hardest difficulty, but still harder than normal. And the game can be pretty difficult if you play under that difficulty. I've heard it's actually kind of easy under normal. And that's generally the case when it comes to AAA FPSs. I just died again. God damn it. Alright. I'll be a lot more careful this time around. But as I was saying, when this game is played under normal, I find the game a little bit easy. And that's generally the case when it comes to AAA FPSs. I do recommend playing under hard. You'll actually at least get a bit of a challenge. As you can see, I died a couple of times, but that's probably because I'm kind of commentating while playing, which definitely distracts me a little bit. I tend to play a little bit better when I'm just, you know, playing without having to commentate a YouTube video. But that's besides the point. Excuses, excuses. We'll see if we can do a little bit better this time around. But yeah, it has a relative difficulty curve to it, that's for sure. Again, I definitely recommend playing under the harder difficulty for a bit more of a challenge. Alright. So let's see here. We're going to try more of a stealth route and see if we can be a little bit more successful that way. The run and gun way is quite dangerous in this area, so that's probably what's killing us. Now, there is turret play in this game as well, and some of them, like this one here, you can actually remove off the tripod or whatever, the mounts, and kind of carry it around. Obviously, you'll be moving a lot slower, the usual turret gameplay that you'll see in FPSs, so there is some risk. And I must say the turret gameplay is actually pretty fun. There's a good few vehicle segments and turret segments, and unlike a lot of FPSs or even third-person shooters where the turret play is generally very, very annoying, it's just filler material, this game actually does a good job of it. The turrets feel really nice, I must say. And they've really injected a lot of excitement and all that sort of stuff when you're actually in those segments. Oh, I just earned a new perk. We'll talk a little bit about the perks. Why not? So there is a skill system. Let's see if I can remember the key or how to access it, because I don't actually. There we go. This is basically the skill tree. Now the reason I didn't know how to access it because I don't really pay a lot of attention to it, and the reason being is because the way the perks work is, you know, you don't actually just select a perk and then you kill so many people with that selected. You move on to the next segment of the tree. It's more of an achievement-based skill tree. So, for example, let's say I want knife stealth plus. I have to stealth kill from thrown knives 5 times in order to do it. So it's kind of like an achievement system, and that's why I don't really pay attention to it. I'm not really a big fan of skill or getting skills in games based on arbitrary achievements. Maneuvers or whatever. I find it kind of distracts me from my usual gameplay. I'm usually not a fan of it, so I chose to ignore it altogether. I'll just pick up whatever skills I happen to pick up. Just the way I treat how I treat achievements. I don't really gun for achievements either. If I pick them up, that's great. If I don't go after it. Whatever. They're very arbitrary, and you know, you don't really get anything for it. It's just, you know, useless points just for bragging rights, and I don't believe in that. I believe that you know, all game mechanics and points and all that stuff should have a reason in the game. You know, this game obviously gives you the reason to do it because it actually gives you passive effects like improved reload and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of cool, but all the same, I still don't like arbitrarily, you know, jumping through hoops and doing gymnastics just to get those perks. I can play fine without them for the most part. Let's actually try the turrets. I've been talking about it a little bit, so let's see if there's anyone to gun down. Oh, there's that guy. There we go. Now we're going to detach it and be basically a walking gunship. Well, actually, there's no one left to kill. I've successfully killed everybody, which is awesome. Perfect. I didn't die this time. That's a lot less embarrassing. Alright, well, it looks like we got to go back to the car, so let's do that. Alright, here we go. So this is one of the more vehicle-y segments that I was talking about. This is only short. I played through this chapter already. But yeah, it's actually pretty enjoyable. There we go, that's it. Okay, maybe that wasn't the best example, but I assure you some of the vehicle segments are really fun. There's one where I jumped into a mech, and that was pretty fantastic. That was a lot of fun. It controlled well as well, which I should mention, the controls do feel very responsive and does the trick quite well. So there you go. Oh, I'm going to go into my single so I can go into my iron sights. Oh, grenade. Not good. It's a bit of a confrontation here. Now, under hard difficulty, you do lose life pretty quickly, so you gotta be careful about that. And definitely gonna want to avoid those grenades, obviously. And there are a few different types of grenades you can get. You know, your standard explosives, and there's Tesla grenades and all that sort of stuff. Oh, still one more guy. We can dual wield this guy. Get rid of him right quick. Run and gun the crap out of him. There we go. Oh god, there's another one. There we go. Taking care of him pretty quickly and easily. I'm going to pick up this health. If you notice on the bottom middle, my health went to yellow and slowly going down. That's because I've overcharged it. This is another old school mechanic that they picked up from the old franchise, where if you pick up health beyond your maximum capacity, you can still gain that health, but it will slowly decrease. It's called overcharging. It's great though, because under hectic situations you pick up an overcharged health. You can use it to kind of run and gun and ignore any damage that you might take from doing such a reckless tactic, because, well, you're gonna lose that health anyways, so why not? So again, you know, it does a pretty good job at incorporating some of the old school mechanics while still modernizing the franchise. So overall, it's a pretty enjoyable game, as I mentioned. Now, the story of the game, I've already kind of talked about the story a little tiny bit. It's, you know, it's about the Nazis taking over the world, alternate story, alternate timeline, and you trying to right the wrongs of the world and all that stuff. I'll be honest, it's pretty bland, and it tries to be serious and emotional and theatrical and all that stuff. But to be honest, I kind of wish that they went the Blood Dragon route. You guys ever played Blood Dragon for the Far Cry 3 game? That was really fantastic because it was self-aware, it knew it was ridiculous in nature, and it was just a parody of 80s action movies. And I was kind of hoping Wolfenstein would be more like that as well. I wish it was a little bit more self-aware, a little bit more ridiculous in nature. Because, let's be honest, these kind of action FPSs, it's hard to take seriously. It's really just, like, I don't want to put this as a negative way, I actually mean this in a positive way, but it's a dumb game, you know? It's a mindless shooter that doesn't really stimulate your brain in any creative way outside of tactical combat, I guess, or action combat. And because of that, I think the game would have benefited more if it was a little bit lighter in the story. It wasn't so serious, but it is what it is. It's not terrible. It's enough to give you enough motivation to kind of carry on and play the game and all that stuff. Let's see. We'll put a silencer. Let's see if we can silently kill some of these guys here. There we go. That's one down. But yeah, I have to say, overall, the game's pretty good. It got really good pacing as well. Like, this guy totally saw me and just... The stealth play isn't that good. That's one flaw of the game. The AI is not smart enough to be a stealth game. Luckily, it doesn't focus too much on a stealth game. They do use it to break up the pacing a little bit, slow the game down. That way you can highlight the action bits of the game. That's definitely one thing that this game does accomplish and does well, and that is the pacing. You know, a lot of faults with FPSs, especially action FPSs, is that they're non-stop action, and although that sounds good, you know, you need that break every now and then to highlight that action. Otherwise, the player can get bored of it. And that's one thing that this game, and games like Resident Evil 4, does really, really well. This game kind of segments its action with some stealth gameplay, some turret gameplay, obviously some story bits as well. And also there is some discovery and some adventuring and exploring in some of the levels as well, and that helps with the pacing as well. So overall, the game does a pretty good job as far as pacing is concerned. So I do appreciate that. So there you go, guys. That's basically Wolfenstein in a nutshell. Overall, it's a very, very enjoyable game, as I mentioned a few times now. I'm having a grand old time playing it. It's one of my favorite FPSs I played this year for sure. I really enjoy some of the level design, the encounter design. The pacing's fantastic. The gunplay feels nice, although it could use a few more guns, to be completely honest. There's only a few, but the ability to dual wield almost any gun that you find is definitely a welcome feature. That does add variety to the gameplay as well. So there is that. So there you go, guys. That's Wolfenstein. I'm not going to drag this video on any longer than it already is. So if you find this, you know, entertaining or informative or useful in any way, you know, do show me some love. You know, like, share, fave, and comment. But most importantly, help me grow, feed me my vegetables, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Alder shout out.